Hi everyone. You know that feeling when you know you've got to diet, you know you've got to lose a few pounds if you're one of my maintainers, got a bit more to lose, but we say to ourselves, my head's just not in the right space. You just don't want to do it. That's been me this week. This week I could have gone back and attempted to go back on step 3 after I got the all clear from the hospital. And so I have nothing stopping me now from starting to lose the holiday pounds that I put on. But every bone in my body has been screeching out at every turn, I don't want to do it. I've had my inner 2-year-old having the most major tantrums about having to restrict myself again, having to say no, having to control what I put in my mouth, and having to feel a bit hungry, and just having to say no. And the overwhelming feeling, I would say, has been resentment. I have resented. I've resented that I'm so short, and so it means that my BMI has to be, my weight rather has to be fairly low to be a healthy BMI. I've hated and resented my age, that the older I get, the harder it is to keep the weight off. I've resented my hormones. I've resented anything I could basically lay the blame on. I have resented and been annoyed about and just been fed up. And boy, has it made it hard. Oh my Lord, it's been a battle this week. And old me would have taken that situation and said to myself, I'm just not in the right mindset. I'm not meant to do it at the moment. There's too much else going on, and I clearly can't get into the right headspace to do this. So I'm going to give myself a break, and then I'll try again when I think I'm in a better place. But what I did this time was, instead of giving up, whenever it got a bit hard, I made myself stop and have a really big think about what it was that was so difficult. And there were two things that I've learnt this week that have been really, really useful. And so this is why I say to my guys, you guys, if you're one of my dieters, when you struggle a bit, that is when you most learn about yourself and how you use food and what's going on in your life. And that's how you take control. And this week, just by having that whole attitude of what have I got to learn from this, it's been brilliant. I have, by looking at that, by the end of the week, although it's still not easy, my whole approach to it has changed. So the two things I've realised are the importance of repetition in habit building. So for the last 7 weeks, 3 weeks of my holiday in Italy and then 4 weeks recovering from my surgery, I have repeated patterns of behaviour that probably haven't been very helpful. Some have been very helpful, so continuing to have my 4 litres of water a day, 3 to 4 litres of water a day. I rarely go under 3 litres of water. That's a great habit that I've continued. Listening to myself and always questioning and always asking myself, what have I got to learn from this? That's another great habit that that I have developed and haven't fallen out of. However, one of my habits of drinking tea, I have definitely slipped back into. So whenever I've felt I needed a bit of a lift or I got a bit tired, I've just gone for a cup of tea, which is, for me, quite milky with a teaspoon of sugar. And that's been a very unhelpful pattern that I've gotten into. I'm really proud that I've maintained since coming back from holiday. But it's a habit that I've been repeating, that the more I do it, the less I want to give it up. And that, when it's coming to losing the weight, makes it harder. So, but that goes both ways. You can repeat both helpful and unhelpful things. So I thought, right, I've just got to accept that that is an unhelpful habit and keep on building and building the helpful ones. But then, because this resentment kicks in that I don't want to give up my cup of tea, the second thing that I became really aware of, just by stopping, listening to myself and really giving myself time to think about what was going on for me, I've learnt that my whole attitude was one of I don't want to, I have to, and I don't want to. So I literally flipped that attitude on its head and I thought, okay, rather than thinking of it as something I have to do, why don't I instead think how lucky I am that I can do this? And so every time I found myself feeling a bit resentful, I would make myself think of 3 reasons why, how great it was that I could diet and that I could lose these last few pounds. And it's effectively being grateful, I guess, for where I'm at in my life and the way that I'm now looking after myself. And that has been so freeing. I no longer feel resentful. Instead, I've been feeling really grateful that I'm and much more at peace, and I'm not fighting. All the internal battle has stopped, and it's a bit like magic, really. So if you're struggling a little bit, just flip that resentment that you're probably feeling on its head and make yourself every time think, what have I got to be really grateful for here? And that in itself, this week, the more I've done it, the easier and easier it's got, and the more likely I am to think that way. So I'm repeating and developing that really good habit rather than building the habit of I really, really resent this. I'm building I'm so glad that I can do this and I can get myself back to where I want to be. Hope that helps.